feel like I'm recording a hostage video. Should I be holding a copy of today's newspaper? Anyway, towards the tail end of last year, I set out on a mission. This mission, in fact. I have very sensibly decided to quit working for 1 full year to see if I can get from my current handicap of 10.2 all the way down to scratch. Now, there was some artistic license taken with that, as I explained in the video itself. I hadn't actually quit my job, as the thumbnail would suggest. I had in fact been made redundant, but the point stood. I was going to dedicate myself to golf and to documenting my golfing life for the space of 1 year to see if I could get from 10 handicap to scratch golfer. So here we sit 9 months later as I record this, and I am very much not a scratch golfer. I am a better golfer, and we'll come to that, but unfortunately my handicap has not moved as I would have liked or perhaps expected it to. So at this 3/4 mark, I thought it was probably worth a quick heart-to-heart and a quick check-in with the people who have very kindly followed on and supported my scratch year mission to see where we're at, what's been good, what's been bad, where we go for the last quarter of this journey, all of those kind of things as regard my golf life crisis and my mission to scratch. So I was pleasantly surprised, not just with how well the videos did when I announced this mission, but actually by how people responded to my desire. Obviously, I had a bunch of people say, "You are delusional, you'll never get there, no one can do this, you're
a big posh sod with plums in your mouth."
No one actually said that. But there was some, not so much haters, there was some cynicism as I'd expect, but generally I would say that was very, very small, probably less than 1 in 20, 1 in 30. And actually, the vast majority of the comments were either supportive and or people who were curious to watch along to see if it was possible and if I could do it. And I think that's generally where my audience lives, is the space of people who love golf, take golf quite seriously, want to get better at golf and want to learn maybe what works and what doesn't through me, or vicariously see if certain golfing aspirations can be achieved, particularly by someone who is of an age, I am now 40, and is not and has never been a kind of college golfing superstar or youth golfing prodigy or anything like that. One thing a couple of people pointed out and have done since is that this is hard, and am I being arrogant or misguided or possibly even disrespectful or things like that to suggest that I could do it. And I kind of push back on that because, first of all, I've never said I could do it. I've never said I could get from 10 to scratch in a year. I just said that I was going to try to, and I was going to document that as best I can. And I have tried to, and I have certainly documented it as best I can. Now, I never thought it was going to be simple. Did I even think it was going to be achievable? Yeah, I probably did. I don't know, quite honestly, if I could go back, whether I thought I would or wouldn't, or what I would have thought the odds would be. But I certainly knew there was a significant possibility that I wouldn't get there, even if I thought there was some possibility that I would. Now, nobody said it was easy, but nobody ever said it would be this hard, you know, as Chris Martin famously said.
Are we having enough?
And it turns out it is really hard. Now, there is a kind of kink to what I'm trying to do here, not like that, in that actually if I look objectively and sort of zoomed out at what I'm trying to achieve here, I'm actually not trying to get from 10 to scratch in a year. I'm essentially trying to get from scratch, i.e. from starting golf to scratch handicap, in 3.5 years, because I only started playing golf in the summer of 2023. So really, as opposed to going from 10 to scratch in a year, I'm trying to go from 0 to 0. You know, all these terms are unhelpfully interchangeable, but essentially from not playing golf to being a scratch golfer in 3.5 years, which, when you frame it that way, is even harder and possibly even more impossible. So in terms of what I've done, what I've achieved, how I've spent this time, not only is it harder to get your handicap down past a certain point than I think I'd anticipated. Again, I realized it would be very hard to go from, 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. I didn't think it would be quite as hard for me, certainly, to get from 10 to 5 as it has been. But one thing that certainly got in the way or has contributed to that difficulty is the amount of time I have spent documenting the journey. Now, I want to become a better golfer. I am also going through a mid-brackets golf life crisis in general life, and transitioning from my previous career into a new one, of which this is a fairly significant part. So I certainly threw myself into the content creation side of things pretty fully, and as with golf and as with most things in my life, I didn't want to be bad at it. So I spent a lot of time making and editing videos and writing scripts and coming up with ideas and filming and arranging filming and reaching out to brands and all of that kind of stuff that comes along with being a YouTuber. Did I do that too much and at times to the detriment of practicing and actually trying to improve at golf? Yes, I did. I'm not denying that. Some people have asked that question or pointed that out. I guess I thought I could do both. I'm every woman, it's all in me, but maybe I couldn't do both, or maybe I just over-indexed on one at the expense of the other. I don't know. I'm not here to sort of drag myself over the coals. I'm just trying to talk openly about what I've done and where things have gone well, and certain things have gone very well and certain things haven't. But yes, I certainly spent more time documenting the journey than I realized I would, possibly too much, and possibly some of that ate into the practice schedule. I think that would be fair to say. And I think there was also a lot of things that I tried to do early on, both in pursuit of better golf and in pursuit of content creation, that just meant I was stretched too thin or plate spinning quite a lot. Some of them have borne fruit and were certainly good things to have done, things like the TPI assessment or the mental coaching, but I also just loaded in loads and loads of stuff. So I was spinning a lot of plates and pulled in a lot of different directions rather than being able to commit to one. Another thing that's worth pointing out is this sim that I'm sitting in filming this. I started the construction project on it pretty much when I launched the Scratch Ear project, but it wasn't finished until February. So we basically lost three months or so in terms of winter practice, not being able to do that in here. Of course, I did go to the range and I was still playing golf and having lessons and that kind of thing, but I didn't have this space to use for anywhere near as much of the year as I kind of hoped or expected to. Now, positives. There are lots of positives. Am I a scratch golfer? No. Am I close to being a scratch golfer? No. And certainly I'm not really that much closer than when I started as far as my handicap goes. As of recording this, I am a 9.7, so I have shaved all of half a shot off my handicap. But I don't think that tells the right story, or the whole story, I should say. Is this cope? Yeah, maybe, but I honestly think it's true. So my swing is better. For whatever it's worth, it looks better, but it does also perform better. I hit the ball better. I hit the ball more consistently. I have a higher but realistic expectation of what I'm going to do each time I hit a shot, and my general outcomes are better than they were 9 months ago. That is undeniably true. I think, and again, this could be some degree of delusion, but I really do think it's true, and I've played with several people who have said similarly, and no, I am not paying them to, and they are not all just like good mates, but sometimes comp playing partners, strangers, etc. I think I am playing, or capable of playing, to like a 6 or 7 handicap. I just can't put enough full rounds together at the moment to do that. But I think that's coming. I really do think that's coming. And over the last couple of years, I remember being in this position in July and into August, feeling frustrated that the scores just weren't following the play. And then August, September, October, that happened and my handicap dropped significantly. So I really do think that's coming. Is it going to drop to scratch? No. Is it going to drop a bit? I kind of think it will. So the swing is better, but it's not just that. My putting is definitely better. I've had some putting lessons and my putting is notably better. My short game is better. My course management is way better. I did the decade course. I've done some of the work with the scoring method as per recent videos. I can get myself around a golf course much more effectively, even when I'm not swinging well, than I ever could before. And that is helping my scoring. And some of the things which have been maybe distractions or have taken me away from the core mission, so lots of the travel or even the competitions, have probably stopped my handicap coming down, but may serve me well in the longer run. As anyone out there knows, if you're playing in a comp with strangers at new, and in my case, a lot of the time, very difficult golf courses, and particularly, as a lot of people probably won't know but could imagine, trying to film those competitions, it is unlikely to bring out your best golf, or certainly your best golf scores. That is much more likely to happen in the comfort of your own club, with friends, maybe in comps, maybe not, but on a course you know very well, know the miss, know the lines, know the greens, all of that kind of stuff. And I have played precious few of those, so I think my handicap has suffered because of that. Flip side of that is A, I've got to play a lot of nice golf courses, B, I've had a nice time, met some nice people, all of those kind of things. But I think it probably bolsters my game in the long run, helps it travel better, and I think there are handicaps and there are handicaps. I think some people only ever play their home course in social rounds, and probably that handicap might be slightly flattering in certain cases. And then there are people who play really difficult courses in really difficult conditions, and their handicap is possibly slightly harsher than it could be. And I probably fall at the moment slightly closer to that. So my hope being that when I can log enough rounds at the home course, as I'm starting to do, then my handicap might start to look a bit more favourable in terms of the number itself. I will do a full video on this at some point soon, because there's a few different things I've been thinking about with regards to the accuracy or otherwise of handicaps, but I think this is a long-winded way of saying a score or some scores I believe are brewing. And as I saw last year and the year before, it doesn't take many of those to lop 2, 3, 4 shots off a handicap. And I think and hope we are nearly there, or some form of that is not far around the corner. I've also learned a ton. I've learned about my swing faults, what my biggest issues are. A lot of the lessons and the practice has taught me that. And it may not be rocket science, some of the stuff that I'm consistently doing wrong. It's just very hard to break those ingrained movement patterns. And that's something I'm going to have to work on concertedly over the off season. I've taken a pause on technical instruction at the moment. I'm just trying to be in the play golf, not golf swing headspace for the remainder of the season. But there will be a ton of off-season work in that regard that I will do and that I will document. I can also identify what's going wrong on the course better than I ever could, whether that's a contact issue, face, ground contact, a movement issue, whatever. Doesn't mean I can always rectify it, but I at least understand myself and my golf swing better now to be able to diagnose the problem. And all of this has given me a clearer idea of what to focus on next season in terms of what I need to do with my lessons, with my practice, with my skill development, and crucially what I don't do, what I don't throw in the mix over again, so that I can have a much clearer run at the things that are really going to move the needle in terms of making me a better golfer, which is the actual point, and making my handicap lower, which is the sort of proxy for my golfing ability. So those building blocks are in place. The sim is here. I've had club fittings, I've done mental coaching, I've done a bunch of reading around that kind of stuff. I'm getting more into the course management side of things. I think a lot of the groundworks, a lot of the sort of subsurface stuff that I needed to do this year, I have done and is in a good place and will stand me in good stead for a really productive off-season of work, and then hopefully a very productive season in terms of that handicap and that standard of play next year. But of course, that is next year and we still have 3 months to go. I will continue to be documenting this season, and as I've said before, the channel doesn't stop when the scratch year is over. I am going to keep doing this. I have dedicated myself to this. Some things will change, but probably not really. They're the kind of things that I will notice, but hopefully you won't. There will be lots of content, lots of lessons, courses, training, all of that kind of stuff. To that end, if you are watching the videos and have done and are not subscribed, please do. And if you are a follower of the journey and the channel, please do let me know what you enjoy, what you're here to see, so I can try and do more of it and kind of tailor the content to satisfy the curiosity or, what the interests are of the people watching. Ultimately, I am tracking my golfing journey, but I also want to help people with their own. I've had so many nice comments off the back of lesson videos or other videos saying it's helped people with their own swing faults or their confidence or trying to get better and putting more effort in, that kind of stuff. So I love hearing from everybody. So please do let me know what you want to see more of in terms of the journey, the lessons, all of that stuff into the off season and for next season. I'm also not the kind of person who just hangs the clubs up over the winter in terms of playing on course. I will still be getting out there as much as the weather does allow. So we have 3 months to go. I am feeling confident and also completely hopeless. Hopeless in the sense that I don't believe that the scratch year will culminate in a scratch golfer. But I'm confident that I will get closer and that I will see a meaningful handicap reduction before the end of the year. We haven't had it yet. We have had some reduction and just some fluctuation, down, up, but nothing meaningful. That is just the brutal truth of it, but I am confident we will see some meaningful reduction before the end of this year's mission. And as I say, the end of the year is not the end of my grander golfing mission. Golf improvement and my golfing life is still going to be an incredibly important thing to me, and I will continue to document it for everyone's, amusement, entertainment, information, whatever it might be. I've done a lot, I've learned a lot, I've filmed and edited a lot, and I've certainly learned a lot about what I need to do, what maybe I need to not do, and I think all of that will help me for the rest of this year and beyond. I have massively appreciated the support I've been given so far. As ever, I would love to ask you to like, comment, and hype the videos. Just have a look for that hype button, and by the way, you can hit it more than once. It really does help to get the content and the channel out there to more people. Please do, as I say, let me know what you've enjoyed, what perhaps you haven't, what you want to see more of. I will do my best with that. And as ever, I will see you in the next one.